Welcome to the While My Batteries Charge podcast. Join us as we talk about all things radio controlled. And now, your host.
Folks, this man, he is the king.
Mr. RC himself. Tony CC.
Hey, welcome to 2025. What happened to January, you guys? It done gone. Hey, welcome to While My Batteries Charge podcast. Your source for my thoughts on the RC world. I didn't know where I was going to go with that. But, yes, it is a source. It is my thoughts on it, and that's what you get. So thanks for tuning in. Sorry that it's been a hot minute, you guys. I wasn't sure that I was going to keep this. I had to come down to a decision of whether or not to pay the piper the money that they wanted to keep it running or not, and I decided yes. So I better get the most of my $108 that I just paid to host the podcast on Podbean and have it distributed throughout. They were threatening if I didn't pay the 108 that all the old episodes would be gone as well. And so I said, you know what? I don't want to lose this. It really made me think about it. I said, I want to lose what I did in the past, but I also want to keep it going. So here we are. We're getting a late start to the year, but we're going to jump in with some fun talk. So I did end up getting a Arrma Mojave 4S, and it is as good as it looks. It quickly became one of my favorite RCs that I own. So there's that. It is just a joy to run it. It's durable. It flies awesome. It's got great speed. It's a good size. It's bigger than like the Sentence and all that, the 1/10, but smaller than the bigger brother Mojave. It's like in this perfect size for the type of vehicle that it is. I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. I would reach for it instead of the 6S. I know I'm the crazy one. Everyone tells me, why would you do that? Why would you move to Michigan? Why would you leave the warmth? Why would you choose a 4S over a 6S? I don't know. I do it over and over again. I was choosing the 3S's over the 6S's. There's just something about, I don't even know. I don't know what it is, but I gravitate toward them and really enjoy them. That's where I am with the Mojave 4S. Runs so good. Looks like a dream. I love how easy it is to get in it and work on it. They've made it a real ripper, and it's my top 5 for sure, probably top 3 RCs to run right now. And I can't wait to get it out after winter is done and run it when I have much more control over it and can take it, just bouncing through like whoops and sand and all kinds of fun. So I have all that planned for it, and I can't wait until that time comes. But for now, we have what we have, and what we have is snow, and we're supposed to get some more of it tonight, apparently. So it's not going away anytime soon, which is a bummer for the Team Corrali Punisher 4S that just came in the mail. I did get it out. I unboxed it. It looks fantastic. The body on it is super rad. I love it. It has this old school car look to it on the front. And yeah, it just looks cool. Everything looks beefy on it. It's a 4S, so it's smaller. It takes one easy to insert and purchase 4S battery. I think that's my biggest issue with the 6S's. I don't really have 6S batteries, and they're so expensive. I have multiple matched 3S pairs, and it's just, I don't know why it's a pain. I don't like plugging them all in and fitting them in, and it's just, I don't know. It's just a little bit more of a hassle to me that I would reach for the 4S over it. If it's all I had, I would do what I had to do. When I have other options, guess what? I reach for the other options for some reason when it comes down to that kind of scenario. The Team Corrali does 4S. Again, huge, beefy everything on this thing. Big bore shocks, 16 millimeter ones. They've got chassis stiffeners. It's got an aluminum chassis. Looks fantastic. The laser etching on it looks really grand as well. I think the choices of colors are pretty cool. The green the red and the blue. I think an orange would have been pretty rad as well, but I feel like they did a good job with their options, and I went for the green one. It looks fantastic. Team Corrali did send it to me to review, so that is out there for you to know. And that brings up something that I do want to talk about maybe later in here. I don't want to break away too much to talk about it, but the idea of reviews and whether or not it's really a review or if it's just marketing. And I would say it is marketing for them for sure. But I would also say that I wouldn't trust any review as an honest review. Like, people want to say, we're the real review, we're the honest review. So I'll get into that later. I'll just tease you with it now, and then I'll bring it back up later, and we'll talk about that. Yeah, so they sent it out to me to show how it works, is a better way of saying it, to display it, to put it on the internet, how it works, how it handles, what it comes with, all of those kind of things. So we're unboxing it. We're showing it off is what we're doing. It's not a review for the sake of, in my opinion, all the details of whether or not, because you can't be unbiased on something that you didn't pay for. You can't be unbiased on something you did pay for. Because if you paid for it and it's not exactly like you would want it, you may be tainted toward what you think of it for something small. But, so there's no unbiased review. We'll just say that. And we'll come back to it. But the Corrali Punisher, it's available. They're $420 at A-Main or Hobbytown through HRP is who it's kind of coming in through. And yeah, I would say it's pretty cool. Now, something I saw in some other videos is that it's pretty much the exact same thing as the Kagama 4S that just came out, just a different body. And then they showed it side by side, and there's very little, maybe where the shocks are placed and which hole they're mounted and a few things like that. But by and large, most of it is interchangeable. It just kind of comes down to the 3S line of Arrma, where most of it is interchangeable. Now you're going to have different lengths, and you're going to have different width or arm lengths and things like that, where you could put them in, they would fit, but it wouldn't work right exactly. But they are enough, they're close enough in the shape of things that they would take those parts. Now this seems to be more like exact same parts, exact same length, width, everything, and parts are just the exact same ones. That's something to note, but that's not a bad thing. People have different styles. Somebody may be more drawn to the look of this one over another one. I get it. That to me isn't like a big deal, but it looks fantastic. And it reminds me a lot too of the Skeeter, which was out before, which is a forest vehicle, which I loved as well. And I found it to be very durable. And so and I don't know if this is that closely aligned to it exactly. I haven't looked back to the spec to spec, but if it is closely aligned, I thought the Skeeter was awesome. That would be a good thing. Anyway, there's so many cars coming out, and there's so many things and nuances and little things that it's hard to say exactly what's the exact same and what's not. And without me side-by-siding them and looking directly at them at the same time, it's really tough for me to tell. But what I can say is the Punisher is built very strongly. It's got a lot of power. It was pretty uncontrollable on the ice that I had out there today because ice is hard to drive on. It was tough getting traction to get speed, but also to keep it straight. But it did a pretty good job. And then when it landed in the snow, the fact that it could actually get out was very impressive. And the battery lasted quite a bit, considering how much I was just having to chug through the snow to try and get it out. I know it was draining that battery extra fast. Speaking of batteries, it runs the XT90 connectors. And I found, just like the EC3 into XT60s, you can push them in and the battery will work. I have all EC3, EC5 pretty much batteries for the most part. And so I didn't swap out or cut off and solder on a IC5 connector. I just plugged it into the XT90 and it worked great. The metal parts of it are the same size. It's just the different shape. But if you noticed, the XT90 is still very similar in the shape, with the rounded side and then the squared off sides. They're not exactly the same in design, but they seem to work pretty good. There's that. But yeah, it worked out for me because I was like, oh, I hope I have a battery that'll work with this and I don't have to solder to get it out and run it. There's a couple things I did do to it right out of the box. Right away, And they actually mentioned it to me, was check the droop on it. Based on what they hear people complaining about as far as break points or different things on any vehicle, just like any company, they're going to be watching for what those are. And they just said to check the droop, and it definitely was over, like it was fully extended. So when you would air out, the suspension would basically be getting tugged at like by the arms. And then that motion, if it's really aggressive, could make it mess up the shocks or pull the shock out or lock it up. So then when you land, it would bend the shock shaft. Any potential thing could happen. It used to happen with my Raminator, and I put limiting straps on it. So with these, you just go in and you adjust the droop. And so there's a screw in there. You just adjust it so that it doesn't overextend the shocks. And so I did that on all four and got it in line. And then I also took off the front wheels and pulled out the front CVDs in order to put shrink wrap around that little retainer clip that goes on the drive shaft, because under heavy impact or high speed, as it's really ripping around and spinning fast, that clip can come off, which it shouldn't, but it could, and it does on people, on just what seems like it should. And who knows when it actually comes off, if it's on a hit or whatever, but eventually that pin works itself out, and then you lose a drive shaft that goes into the CVD. So I just went ahead and got 3/4 inch shrink tubing and cut it and just put it over that retainer clip and heat shrinked it on. So hopefully it'll keep it on there. So just a way to try to help bulletproof it, because what was actually going wrong with these aren't like really big things. They're all fixable if you just know what the problem is and just address it before you even start. Wasn't a big deal. Took me 20 minutes while the batteries are charging, and got it all up and ready and took it out. Didn't worry about any of those things. It does have a wing on it. I don't love winged trucks in particular, not because of them breaking, not because of looks, primarily because when you flip upside down, you get stuck upside down, and then you have to walk to your car and flip it over. So I don't love them, but it looks cool on here for sure. And I know a lot of other cars come with them. So it's not like I'm not giving it any negative points for that. I just, personal opinion, don't love wings. And so, yeah, I think that's enough on the Team Corrali Punisher 4S. Pretty rad. Can't wait to give it a real good bash here soon. Something else I want to talk about is we're going to talk about the Axial Gilamon, but also the Venge RC 124 scale stuff. And I'll go with that first. My buddy Brandon here in the west side of Michigan has a company called Venge, for his last name with a V, and then engineering. And he's been coming up with really crazy designs in order to make 124 scale comp trucks so capable. His brain works in crazy ways, and he thinks about things. If there's a problem, he tries to address it. And he has come up with some really cool stuff. And it's available at Etsy under Venge RC. And it's VENG RC. And it's fantastic stuff. I've been wanting to get one of his. So the first time I met him was at the Great Lakes Gauntlet. And he showed up with what looked like titanium rigs that were heated to have like rainbow coloration to the cage that he had on it. And I thought, wow, this is wicked. This guy can do some awesome metalwork. Look at this thing that he's built. This the craziest, coolest little 24 scale. Turns out through talking to him, he did it all out of styrene and painted it to look like that. It was insane. But then as I look at it, you could see what he'd done with his links and a whole bunch of other stuff that he just modified and made his own. And he'd do it out of styrene. He'd cut it out of carbon fiber. He'd do all different kinds of things in order to make his rigs. But he saw what he wanted, and it was in his mind, and he was just creating. And he's just come up with these really cool chassis and link designs, and he's tried to find ways to do 3D printed links that are cut in a weird shape to allow your wheels to turn more, and where he mounts his shocks then change, and like crazy stuff. Anyway, he has started selling a line of things And I've been talking to him about it, and we showed some of his rigs on the YouTube channel and just been impressed by it, by his stuff. And he was saying that I should get one and do whatever. I said, I just didn't have time to build anything. He said, I love building. I'll build it for you. And so he built me one of his Gatekeeper 2 chassis with his hard body on that he painted and rusted and did all this cool stuff for me with, made it just look absolutely baller. And then he designed wheels while he was working on mine in order to, because we were doing Mias axles and he was trying to narrow it up. And so he made these crazy offset wheels that are 3D printed, and everything about it is insane. So I just wanted to, one, point out his stuff. You definitely need to check it out. He's doing stuff with like carrier bearings and all kinds of things in order to get your drive shafts out of the way to give you the maximum clearance underneath the trucks. Just going through his stuff right here. He calls it the rock roach, like a bug kind of a crawler body that he does. He's got slither links. Those are what I think are on mine, that hoop way up and just avoid so many things. Again, the Gatekeeper V2. He does differential sliders for the Mias axles as well. And like I said, he's got the carrier bearings stuff that he does. What else? He has, little dropper draggers, like front knuckles that he made for the Mias axles, so he can put weights in those. What else has he done? I'm just trying to look through here. Cobra V2 chassis. He has a Cobra chassis design. The comp square bodies, that's what I'm running. Really cool with the square lights and everything. Yeah, just check out his stuff. He's got so much cool stuff. And he's just started making these kinetic winch sticks that you can download by the downloadable file and print off, and it allows you to take the knot from your winch strap, like your DSM off-road ones that they had, and if you have a knot at the end of it, you can just lock that in and then twist it. It's pretty awesome. That way you don't have to tie it or whatever to a stick. You can just put it into place and lock it in for using it that night, and then take it off if you have it attached to a rig at other times or whatever. Anyway, check out his stuff. Venge RC. Brandon, really cool guy. Great ideas. Really cool guy, first and foremost. And somebody you should definitely support what he's doing, because it's just going to get better from here on out. All right, the Gilamon from Axial. That came out of nowhere. It looks like Gilamon, but it's Gilamon. And it's a 8th scale off-road buggy from Axial, and it runs something they're calling ASD, which is the Axial Selectable Drive. They're like cutting brakes in order to stop a wheel. So you could literally pivot on one. It's dig, but you're just locking one wheel. Right now it comes with it already installed on the rear, but there's a spot where you can mount the servo on the front axle as well if you want to do that. And there's also one on the transmission as well that would let you then do dig. So then you could effectively just operate with you could lock 3. Like you could lock off the whole rear end, but then also lock one of your rear wheels, so only one is pushing or pulling or whatever. It's crazy what it could do if you really got creative with it. It's pretty neat. The size seems pretty cool. The axle seems super chunky and very boxy because of the way that they have it set with the selectable servo area. So it definitely makes for a boxy upper and bracing and all that they've got on there. But from what I've seen in the videos, it looks pretty cool, and it looks like an awesome size. That's one of the things I'll say. It also comes with the Spectrum SR515 5-channel receiver. That alone is like an $80 purchase just about. So it's $580, I believe, is the cost of it. Yeah, $579. And 80 of it would be a receiver. 21-turn motor, just a brush motor. And then it's got portal axles, their AT6 transmission. It's running the DX3 smart transmitter. It's got rock lights on it. You can change the color of them. And it's got Mickey Thompson licensed tires and the Raceline Avenger wheels. So it's a pretty slick rig. It's a trail buggy design. It's interesting in that there's really not other competition for it currently. I know Red Cat has an 8-scale rig, but it's big. It's not SCX6 big, so it's in that weird size. Like, people want the SCX6 just because it's big. They didn't care if there's a competition for it or not. It's just a big truck that I'm just going to basically crawl with for fun. Now, some people do make up competitions and stuff for them, but by and large, it's for fun and towing stuff with, or towing your kids in a little wagon behind it. It's pretty crazy. This is not that big, which one makes it easier to carry out if you break it. But a lot of people were asking for something like this, or a Capra in the SCX6 lineup. Didn't happen. One thing is nice is that the price is much less, I guess. It's bigger. It's more capable than a 10th scale, but it's not that large size. It's a tough spot to be in that everyone's saying it's a great size. They really like the size of it, but it's like, what shops that do comps are going to really sell many of them? Probably not many, because there's a class for it. It doesn't help them to sell it in some ways, because then people are going to be asking for class. It's just, I don't know. It just was like, interesting. Wonder why that scale. But that's all I thought about it. Then I moved on, because not everybody comps, but a lot of people we go to Walter RC Park and their stuff is the width of 10th scale. So you get onto some of that stuff that they've designed out of wood or fallen trees or things, and they're not really going to be able to fit on them, I don't think. The span is going to be weird. So anyway, it's just that made me be like, I wonder about that. But I'm sure there's a reason they chose a bigger size. It does set it apart. It can't really be compared to other stuff because it's not in the competitions against other things. So it's not being sold against something else like an optic or other things that people might comp with and be like, this one's way more capable. It's been a league of its own because there's nothing else in that league. And so if you want something that size, there it is. So I don't know, but overall I like it. 2.2, bringing back the 2.2 size. And yeah, we'll see. So I'll quickly go back. I'm going to wrap up here in a few, but quickly go back to what I was touching on earlier. And some of it came because of this. I was seeing some things, critiquing reviewers of it. And yeah, and it just made me, one, laugh, two, get frustrated with people, and three, really think about the end user of YouTube, the people that watch videos, and hope that they understand. And if not, understand that everybody, even people that say honest review or real reviews, we do real reviews, is still tainted. It's not really. It may be honest, but it may not be right. They may be saying exactly how they feel, but that's what it is. It's a lot of, I would call them opinions. And each person has one. Everybody has different opinions. Some people think their opinions are better than other people's opinions, whether or not they are. But that's just their personality. There's all of that out there. And I say that as somebody who has tried my best to show you the vehicles in the best way that I can. One, I try not to say that I'm a reviewer. I like to just show what vehicles can do and let people make their mind up about it. I will give my opinions and my thoughts on some of them. Some of them I don't. Some of them I'm just like, that was cool or that was fun. This is what I liked about it. But I usually am not trying to sell it. Like, oh, go buy this. This is a must-have RC. Like, I hear some people say that. You have to have this one. If you only have one, you have to get this one. There's some people like that are total salesman-y people. And one also very opinionated people, because they like it, think that everybody has to have it. I would just say, just be aware of this. Just think about it. Any video you watch, just watch it for what it is. Try to take any of their opinions out of it and just see if you like how it's handling or if you are okay with how it broke. You saw it break. Don't listen to their excuses for it. Is it believable to you? Oh, that was their fault. Or, the truck shouldn't have broke. Without even hearing them say it, what is your thought on it? And think critically about it. Don't trust everything on the internet. Please don't trust everything on the internet. For the love of all that is holy, don't. So while I think of myself as a pretty honest guy, I don't try. I would rather hurt myself on a deal than hurt somebody else. Even still selling stuff, I always undercut the price because I just say I've done quite a bit to it. It's been through a lot. And so I try to give people a better deal because of that. Or I try to always sweeten the pot on things. Or I don't know. I'm trying to think of different ways to explain it. But the internet is full of people with different upbringings, different backgrounds, different whatever. And everything that you've gone through in life impacts how you look at things. And so any review, whether you think that it is honest or you really believe it 100% about something and somebody else doesn't invalidate how they feel about it. And so there's people out there being like I would do a real review on this, or basically saying that all of the other people aren't doing real reviews on it and are trying to, I'm getting a phone call here. Basically are putting down everybody else that's done a review because they're not real or they're not being honest. Is basically what they're saying, that I could do it better. Be very careful of those people because they think pretty highly of their opinions and their thoughts on everything. But anyway, yeah, it's a crazy world out there. I honestly am so glad to really be pushing my way out of it, because the more I was in it, the more I realized how wild of an industry the whole influencer thing is. And I really don't want to influence about stuff. And I really don't think people should own every RC car that comes out. And I'm not trying to force anybody to buy them. Even in this episode, I just said my buddy has the Venge RC. Check him out. He would be an awesome person to support. He's totally good and helps everybody out at our shop. Beyond his product or whatever, I like it. So I'm telling you how I feel about it. I think they're next level, but I think there's a ton of next level stuff that's coming out. But I have firsthand knowledge of his because I've run it. So I'm going to talk about it, not knowing that there may or may not be something better out because I haven't used it. And that's what I would say for everybody whose videos you watch. We all haven't had our hands on everything that's ever been out, or we haven't experienced or have been in the terrain or been in the heat or been in the climate of or been in we all have our own lived experiences. And with that, our opinions become part of that. And what I'm talking about today with Team Corrali, yes, they did send that to me, and I'm going to be upfront about it. It looks very much like some of their other cars, but I think their other cars that I had were pretty great. I have Arrma cars. I think Arrma cars are pretty great. There's a lot of great cars out there, and it really comes down to you to decide what you're looking for. And there's different factors. Do you have shops around you that sell them? Because even within it, as honest as I want to be about things, I don't love Traxxas. You don't hear me talking great about them very often. I'll say that their X-Max is one of the best RCs made. I'll say it, but I'm not going to just go shout about it to everybody all the time, just every second. Go get this, go get that, because of the experiences that I've had with them. And I tended to base a lot of what I feel about stuff based on people and how they treat other people. That's a big deal to me. So if you can't do that, I don't really care too much about your products. But if somebody wants a really great, really huge monster truck, hey, that's the one to get. That's the best one out there. I'd tell you that. But yeah, again, it's just something to be aware of. Just know who you're dealing with. Not everybody out. There's a lot of people trying to make money on it. And even when I was making money on it, not a whole lot of it was coming from affiliate sales because I wasn't trying to push sales. I didn't want to be a salesman. Even my own store, if you go back and look through my things, you don't see me talk about my products a ton. There's been a few where I talk about them. Even my new music, I've pushed a couple times here and there, but I'm not just on every rock posting it in every single group and every single forum and every single whatever, trying to get people to click on my links and buy stuff because I'm trying to make money off of you. Just be aware. That's all I'm going to say. And I wish it wasn't that way. I wish everybody was in it for the right reasons and all that. But I don't love it when other people are talking down on people who I thought actually did a really good job reviewing this vehicle in particular, pointing out some of its flaws, showing some of its capabilities, really getting in there and doing it. But I guess they didn't do it to the degree that some of the YouTubers thought they should, and they thought they could do a better job of. It's funny to just watch the personalities and be like, dude, I like these people that did these reviews and they did a good job, and chill out. So anyway, I got bent the wrong way when I saw some stuff on this release, and just rubbed me the wrong way. But I'd seen it before in some of these people and had guessed that was their personality, just following along over time and just how they carry themselves and how they talk about products and things. And I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, podcast is coming back. We don't make money on it. Actually, we make a little on ad revenue. Not enough to pay for the subscription, but it's something, I guess. But really, we do this because so many of you keep saying that you like listening to it. So we're going to bring it back and keep bringing it back. And hopefully I can keep finding stuff to talk about. So, hope you guys have fun RCing. Don't believe everything you hear on the internet. We'll see ya.